Now we're going to dive into the bottle shot. This is one of the more heroic challenges that your clients are going to give you, a really refreshing looking hero bottle. So there are a few different ways that we're going to bring in those refreshment cues. We've got glycerin, which is going to help us get those droplets of condensation on the bottle. We've got ice powder that we're going to be using in order to get little bits of kind of slushy ice. And then we have crystal ice, which is going to give us that feeling of chipped ice or kind of miniature shards of ice collecting on the bottle. All of those things in unison are really going to give us that refreshment cue. When we apply that, we've also got to be very conscious of the logo, of the branding. We don't want to cover it up too much. So there's definitely kind of a gentle blending of putting those refreshment cues in the right place while still allowing the brand and its logo to be very forward. So let's also talk a little bit about our set. I have not made too many changes here, and one of the nice things about this is you don't have to reinvent the wheel, or as my business partner likes to say, you don't have to reinvent the horse, right? So we're going to start with a background light. It's just going to be a very simple monoblock with the P70 reflector and a 20-degree grid is where we're going to start, because I want to have that kind of glow. I am going to move it off to one side. Right now it's kind of dead center, but I'm going to move it to the side a little bit because I want to bring that glow on one side and I want to have it kind of gradate. We're going to have our pan head with the polarizer up top. We're also going to really see how that highlight now is going to come into the shoulder of the bottle. This is very different than the beer pours that we had where the glasses were for the most part vertical. Now we really have a rounded portion of the glass that's coming up. That rounded portion of the glass is really going to give us highlight. We want to eliminate that or control it via polarization. I'm also changing up my strip light. I had a strip bank in there before and I'm using a bar light. It's a kind of an unusual light. Not a lot of people use them. It's not the cheapest light in the world, but I think it's kind of interesting. And the reason why I want to show it to you is because you can get a razor sharp highlight with this. Not that we always want to have a razor sharp highlight, but you can achieve that if that's the look you're going for. So I'm going to show you that really kind of sharp highlight, and then we're going to put in some diffusion to soften it up. It's also going to be coming from the left side. Now, in some ways, the way we've put this set up, you would think that I'm putting everything on that side intentionally for you all to be able to kind of see into the set. That's not completely true. I am actually setting almost all of my lights on the left side, because I want everything to read the way we read left to right, okay? So I want the highlight to be on the left side of the bottle. I want the brightest part of the label to be on the left side, and I want it to have a gradient going to the right. To me, that makes the most visual sense. Whenever I look at bottles and I see the people have brought the highlights on the right side, it's reading backwards. For some reason, visually, I think it really fights, and it's not something that I like. So to me, this is kind of a pet peeve, but this is how I always light my labels, going from left to right. So in addition to the bar light, I'm bringing in another monoblock. This is an older Visitech monoblock. I've had these things for probably 2 decades. They just won't die, thank goodness. Knock on wood, I didn't jinx myself. I'm using that with what is called an IMPA spot, and it's just a tiny spotlight that's on the front of it. There are several brands that you can buy different spot modifiers to go on the front of a monoblock, or you can use a snoot on a floor pack and regular light. This is going to allow you to get control light coming right at the label, because again, I want to have that kind of wraparound effect, and I don't want to have a giant broad source that's completely washing everything out. So by having the opportunity to use a small spotlight, I can really control where that light is going. The other thing that we're going to be doing, when we're lighting with the IMPA spot, we can actually concentrate the light down here on the main label and then move it up and shoot it just on the neck label. That again is going to add drama, because we're going to be able to keep the shoulder portion of the bottle a little bit darker. It's just going to help give it more shape and form and a little bit more visual interest. So those are some of the tricks that I use in order to actually create my heroic bottles. Why don't we get started and you can take a look at the process.